friends, today I'm going to share with you why 2 minutes a day for your spiritual practice is more effective than 60 minutes once a month. You've probably heard me say this before because I will not shut up about it. But I'm going to share with you the science behind why I'm so obsessed with this theory and why it's so powerful for you if you're struggling to stay consistent with your spiritual practice or you're struggling to see the benefits of your practice. And then I'm going to break down how you actually do it. How do you actually break your spiritual practice into digestible little 2-minute chunks so that you can do it every day? So grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, because you're going to want to take notes on this. So let's dive into the why first. I always say, when you understand the why behind what you're doing something, it becomes so much more potent. There are 3 reasons why 2 minutes is more effective than 60 minutes. And the first one has to do with your nervous system. Now, if you listen to my podcast, you follow me on Instagram, you have been around the block with me at least once, you have heard me say this, but you have 2 sides to your nervous system. The fight, flight, freeze response, which is your survival response. It's your stress response. It's the part of your brain that thinks you're being chased by a tiger and responds accordingly. And then you have your other side of your nervous system. That is your relaxation response, your rest, restore, and heal response. Now, your brain, it's so cute, right? Because it has the same wiring that our ancestors had when they were literally being chased by saber-toothed tigers or foraging for berries to stay alive. It does not know the difference between our everyday stresses, like getting cut off in traffic or your Netflix buffering for a little bit too long, or someone texting you, hey, can we talk? And then you see the little 3 bubbles and it takes like 20 minutes before they send you a response. You're wondering if they hate you. It doesn't know the difference between any of those things and an actual tiger being there chasing you. It responds the same way because for your brain and for your nervous system, stress is stress is stress. And so it doesn't matter if it's a big stress, a little stress, a lot of stress, a small amount of stress, your brain would rather assume it's a tiger and be wrong and you stay alive than not assume it's a tiger and be wrong and you get eaten. So what that means is when we go into this survival response, when our brain thinks we're chased by a tiger, all of the resources in your body and mind go towards keeping you alive. So your memory, your concentration, your focus are impaired. Your pain receptors are affected, so you feel more pain, inflammation, and tension in the body. Your digestion slows down because all of the resources needed to keep that running are diverted. Your immune system can become compromised, right? We're not able to tap into our creativity, our empathy, all those things that are unnecessary when we are literally battling for our survival. What happens though is for a lot of us, we experience tigers all throughout our day. Right? Think about between when you woke up this morning and when you started to watch this video. How many little things did you encounter that were stressful? Right? Maybe it was spilling your morning coffee or hitting every red light on your way to work. Or maybe there was an ad before this video that was really annoying and it wouldn't let you skip it. All of those things build up over time, right, into our nervous system. And we become less resilient to stress, meaning our brain is more likely to jump to, this is stressful, it must be a tiger, than say, this is stressful, let me check it out and see if it's a tiger before I jump to that response. So a lot of us are chronically stuck in that stress response, in that survival response. And when that happens, think about all those resources that are diverted, right? Over time, they can start to wear away at our body. So you may have experienced chronic pain or inflammation or digestive issues, IBS, things like that can all be a result of chronic stress. And it's because our wiring of our brain and our nervous system really wasn't designed for our modern day life where we have so many more opportunities to stress ourselves out. And so when we start to approach our practice through this lens of little bits at a time, okay, we can actually start to reprogram the nervous system to become more resilient to stress. So imagine this, you spill your morning coffee and your habitual response when you're in that stress, that tiger mode, right, is to freak out, right? Oh, how could I have done that? I'm such a dummy, my new shirt, I'm gonna be late for work, right? You just slamming things in your house. We've all been there. We've all been them. The temper tantrum. We've all been there. Alternatively, imagine a world where you spill your coffee and you feel yourself get angry and you go, oh, I'm going to be so late. And you go, just for this breath. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to get changed and I'm going to continue on my morning. What happens is when we have a stressful kind of experience come to us, something stressful happens, there's a 90-second chemical reaction in your body and mind that determines whether you go into that full-blown fight, flight, freeze response and you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, or you stay in the rest, restore, and heal response, and all of those resources that would go towards survival go towards finding equilibrium, healing, and balance in your body. So all of those systems that got diverted, now they can function properly. So you have more spaciousness in your mind to prioritize things. You have the ability to think rationally, creatively, logically, rather than from our emotional brain that is freaking the hell out. The pain in your body can decrease. The tension, you can release your shoulders. Your heartbeat starts to slow down. Your breath becomes deeper. Your digestion begins to function better. When we take that moment to pause, we reassure our brain that there isn't a tiger here. So if you were driving in traffic and someone cut you off, that's a stressful response, right? Your brain's gonna think, oh my God, tiger. But when you take a breath, you go, just for this breath, I'm okay, I'm safe, I can feel my feet on the floor, take a couple of deep breaths. Your brain is using those 90 seconds to assess, like, is this a tiger or not? And when your brain gets those signals, like you're taking a deep breath, you're pausing, you're telling yourself you're safe, your brain goes, must not be a tiger after all, because if it were, I wouldn't be doing those things. And so when we start to break our practice down into these really digestible chunks, like 2 minutes a day, it gives us the tools we need in those 90 seconds. If you only practice, say, meditation in 60-minute sprints or even 10-minute sprints, you would not know how to access it in those 90 seconds. But when your baseline is 2 minutes, then you know you can tap into it when you need it. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is because of how our brain builds habits, okay? The harder and more difficult the starting point is for a new habit, the less likely you are to do it. This might be common sense, but when we start to build new habits, we tend to have an all or nothing approach. Think of like New Year's resolutions, right? I'm gonna run a mile every single day, or I'm going to lose 7,000 pounds, or I'm going to cook dinner every single night, right? It tends to be this all or nothing mentality where if I don't do the habit perfectly every single day, I failed, and then we give up on it. But this approach really reverses that. It says, I'm going to prioritize the fact that I am a human being, and I do not have endless energy and motivation and willpower every single day of every single week of the entire year. I'm a human being. And so my habits need to match that. So instead of having an all or nothing approach and setting the bar really, really high and hoping I reach it, I'm going to lower the bar. I'm going to set the bar so low I can trip over it on my worst days. The days where I really need my spiritual practice, it's going to be there for me. Because chances are you might have one bad day, but you might have a string of bad days. And all of a sudden you haven't meditated in months, or you haven't picked up your crystals in months, you haven't touched your tarot deck, you haven't done Reiki, and you're like, damn, that was really helpful for me back then, but I don't know how to access it now when I need it. So when you lower that bar, you actually can build a consistent habit. So if you set the bar for 2 minutes of meditation every day, you no longer have the excuse of, I don't have time, because you have 2 minutes while you're waiting for your pasta water to boil, or standing in line at the grocery store, or sitting at a red light sometimes even takes 2 minutes. Brushing your teeth takes 2 minutes. Drinking a glass of water, sitting on the freaking toilet. You can do your spiritual practice. You have no excuse. I know if you're watching this, you're probably someone who's very go, go, go. You're a very busy type of person. I get it. I am too. We can create excuses for ourselves around, I'm too busy, I have too much to do, I don't have time. But when we lower the bar to that 2 minutes, we remove those excuses and give us an opportunity to actually achieve our goal. When it comes to this habit of your spiritual practice, it's not a finish line. There's no like end goal. You don't get a gold star if you do like 52 spells in a year. You know, nobody's handing out trophies for meditating the longest, right? The goal is for your spiritual practice to support your life. I always say, Your spiritual practice should work for your life rather than needing to work for your spiritual practice. There are enough things in your life that are stressful things on your to-do list. Don't let the thing that is supposed to alleviate some of that stress become another stressor. So set the bar lower. Think about it on the days where you feel like crap, where you wake up late, where you feel like you have no time in the world. How can you build your spiritual practice into that day so that it becomes a reprieve and not one more thing on your to-do list? And then that habit can actually stick. And you can actually see the results that you're looking for. If your spiritual practice is one more thing on your to-do list that builds stress for you, it's not going to accomplish your goal, right? Your goal of helping to rewire that nervous system, reprogram your brain that you're not being chased by a tiger, manifest, right? All of the things that you want from your spiritual practice come from you actually doing it. Give yourself permission to do less. Let the gold star be, I did my practice every day. Some days it might be 2 minutes. Some days it might be 1 breath. Some days it might be 2 hours, right? You can create it based on your energy levels. And so the third reason why this is so important is because of how your brain works. I've talked about this in the past, but your brain creates new neural pathways based on repetition. So the things that you do over and over and over and over. Think about if you've ever tried to brush your teeth with the opposite hand than you usually do. It feels really weird and wonky, right? Because you don't have neural pathways like telling your brain what to do. So all of a sudden you have to think about it. Or if you've ever tried to write something with your non-dominant hand, you're like, why does it look so weird? Because your other hand has had years and years and years of practice. And so it becomes very intuitive, very easy for your brain to slip into that wiring and just do the thing. Now, your thought patterns have that same wiring. You have between 50,000 and 80,000 thoughts every single day. The majority of those are the same thoughts you had yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. And the majority of those are negative. So think about that. If you are essentially brushing your teeth with your dominant hand and thinking negative thoughts about yourself day after day after day, those two things are going to become as routine as each other. Versus if you try to think positive thoughts about yourself and brush your teeth with the opposite hand, it's going to feel wonky at first. And so when you do a big elaborate ritual, it doesn't change that wiring. It might put a dent in it, maybe. Say you do one meditation a month. It's a long meditation, but you get through it. If you had a big jar that was full of grains of sand, and you moved 1 grain of sand over to a different jar, you'd still have this jar full of sand over here. You still have that wiring so much stronger in your habits. But instead, if every day you move 1 grain of sand over, right? You do 2-minute meditation, you do 3 mindful breaths. At the end of the month, you're going to have so many more grains of sand in that new bucket. And it's the same thing with your wiring. It's like redirecting a river, right? You need to wear the water in over and over and over and over again to create that new path. Or if you're thinking of the sledding hill example that I sometimes talk about, right? You need to go down the sledding hill and scoot yourself down the sledding hill over and over and over until that becomes the sheet of ice that all the kids slide down quickly. And so when you practice 2 minutes a day, you create that new groove in your neural pathways. You create new wiring in your brain so that it becomes easier for you to pick the path that you actually want, the path of mindfulness or the path of intuition or the path of joy, whatever it is you're cultivating in your spiritual practice. So now that you understand the why, okay, my soapbox, I can climb off of it. Let's talk about how. One of my favorite ways to do this is through habit stacking and creating a menu of spiritual practices. So a lot of times, again, we have that all or nothing approach. I will meditate or I won't meditate. And meditation looks like 10 minutes sitting crisscross applesauce, listening to a guided track and my brain being completely empty. And if I don't do that, I've failed. No. A menu looks more like, okay, what is the bare minimum version of this practice that I can do? What is the lowest bar? The day where I feel like crap, I have no energy, I didn't sleep well and my body hurts and I haven't eaten lunch. What does that practice look like? Versus the medium energy, which is kind of like, okay, the days that I feel fine, I'm good. Kind of like, just is what it is. Living the dream. And then the high energy menu are the days where you have a ton of energy. You have a ton of time. You want to do a more elaborate ritual. So with your piece of paper, write low, medium, and high, right? And decide on what aspect of your spiritual practice you want to start with. What we know about habits, again, is lower the bar. So we don't want to try to do all the things. Pick one. So maybe it's meditation, maybe it's tarot, maybe it's working with crystals, Reiki, yoga, anything. And you can do this with other habits too. So if you want to go on a walk every day, or you want to read every day, or write every day, or whatever. In the low column, think of the barest of bare minimums. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of examples. If it's meditation, instead of doing a seated practice, a low version might be taking 3 mindful breaths when you wake up. Maybe it's feeling the warmth in your hands when you drink your cup of coffee in the morning. Or maybe it's simply focusing on your feet on the floor while you brush your teeth at night. So really, really simple things that you don't have to add to your to-do list. Prioritize things that you could do with habits you already have, right? That's what habit stacking is all about, is taking a habit I already have ingrained and bumping my spiritual practice to it. So I brush my teeth every day. I can do a mindful breath or focus on my feet or, ground into my body while I do that. Or I drink coffee every morning. Great. I can say some affirmations to my coffee, or I can feel the warmth, or I can smell the aromas of it and think of 3 things I'm grateful for, right? So what are those habits you already have? Add those into your low column. For medium, for meditation, that might be doing a 3-minute practice, or a 2-minute practice, or a 5-minute practice. Maybe it's a guided practice. Maybe you have one that you like, and so you have it like bookmarked on your phone. And for the high column, that might be going to a class, right? A yoga class or meditation class, or doing a longer ritual, doing something that involves setting up your space, lighting candles, laying out a special blanket or whatever. If you want to get into pulling cards, say it's tarot, oracle, affirmation decks, any of those, low effort could be a 1-card pull. You pull 1 card, you write down the interpretation, you go about your day. Right? A medium might be doing a 3-card spread. What do I need to focus on today? What was the lesson from yesterday? What's coming up tomorrow? Or whatever 3-card spread you like. And maybe in the high category is a reflection of the card that you pulled yesterday and then the card you pulled today. And maybe it's a whole spread of cards, a 5-card spread, or whatever you want to do. Maybe you work with multiple decks. For something like Reiki, a low could be, when you get up in the morning, before you even get out of bed, you place your hands to your body, you send yourself a little bit of Reiki. Or maybe it's when you're driving in your car, you repeat the Reiki principles. Just for today, I will not worry. A medium could be before you fall asleep at night, you do a few minutes of Reiki. Maybe it's 1, 2, 3 hand positions until you pass out. And a high effort might be doing a full self-practice or a distance practice for yourself, or going to get a session. So you can kind of see whatever your spiritual practice is, you can break it into low, medium, and high effort. And then the most important part is to honor whatever level you're at each day. So there's no gold stars if you do the high effort every single day. My perfectionists, listen up. If you do the low effort every single day, that is a win. I'm going to say it again. If you do the lowest of low effort every single day, that is a win. Because when it comes to your spiritual practice, consistency is more effective than duration, no matter what the practice is, whether it's spell work or meditation or tarot or anything. Consistency is more powerful than duration. So let yourself set that bar even lower if you find you're struggling to hit even that lowest point on your menu. I hope that helps. Let me know your questions down in the comments. I love to geek out about this. I have a whole newsletter that is 2 minutes of magic that I literally give you a 2-minute practice that you can do every single week. So if you want to sign up for that, I will leave that in the description of this video. Let me know what your bare minimum practice is going to be, and I will see you soon. Bye.